United States Stock Car Racing Organization, aka NASCAR for short, is founded by Bill France Sr. with a few other drivers in Daytona Beach, Florida. Puma global sporting good brand is founded in West Germany, and the world's first car ferry service is flown by Bristol Freighter of Silver City Airways across the English Channel. The year is 1948, and this radical new car was offered by Hudson, 262 engine in a step-down chassis. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that digs the lost and forgotten cars. We also dig the classics, vintage, some exotics. This channel is home for the orphan cars and cars made by big brands that seem to go unnoticed. Engine episodes on Wednesdays, history, specs, but most importantly, we show what these cars are like. If that sounds like a channel that you'll totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. This 1948 Hudson Super 6 is currently for sale at Classic Auto Mall, Morgantown, Pennsylvania, with over 950 cars for sale when recording this episode. With financing and shipping available, anybody can peruse their inventory. Great place to go and find and buy your next car. With over 950 cars, there is something for everyone. For hours of operation, directions, as well as more pictures of this 1948 Super 6, be sure to click the link below after the show. 1948 Hudson model lineup was broken down into two model lines, Super and Commodore. Flickering like a candle through time, Hudson offered the Super 6 series from 1916 to 1928. Then they took it off the menu just to bring it back in 1933. Took a bit of a break. Coming back in 1940 through 42, World War II happened, brought it back from 46 to 51. Then it got replaced by the Hudson Wasp in 1952. 1948 was the first year for the Hudson step-down chassis design, which would be used by Hudson from 1948 through 1954. This was also Hudson's all-new post-war car design. The step-down design was built under Chief Engineer Millard T. Tuncray. With design philosophy of roadability, the chassis was a mono-built structure that was overbuilt and over-engineered for maximum stiffness and silence. It's important to stress the design isn't a unit body design. It still uses a frame. With floorboards mounted to the bottom instead of the top, the frame rails are on the perimeter. Also, the frame rails are outboard of the wheels instead of on top of the wheels. The biggest downfall with the step-down design was models were limited to facelifts because of high costs to retool the chassis. But the positives of this design were great roadability because the center of gravity was lower than other cars, and would prove their worth on AAA tracks later on, dominating, beating cars with V8s because they could outhandle them. The step-down design also had a really wide rear bench. It was actually the widest bench seat in the industry at this point, but it also made more of a narrow trunk section, which is why Hudson didn't offer a wagon from 1948 to 1954. 1948 Hudson Super could be had as a two-door club coupe, two-door Brougham sedan, two-door convertible, and four-door sedan. This was a radical new design for Hudson, so let's compare 47 on top, 48 on the bottom, starting in the front. The thing that strikes me the most between these two is just look at how low the new Hudson is. I just realized the Hudson was the first with this profile. Think about it. Nash looks like this in 48. Mercury looks like this in 48. The lead sled look started with this design, and it's interesting because people don't think of it as, they don't remember this for being the very first one. In a lot of ways, this is like how Mercedes took the look from a 37 Lincoln. Like, look at Lincoln in 37 versus what Mercedes image looks like. They kind of stole it. Anyway, getting back to 47, 48 Hudson. I honestly don't think that you could get any different between these two, but the grills are similar. I'm not saying that they're the same, but they are very similar. The 47 bends inward, whereas the 47 angles out. ever so slightly. The 48 has more of a streamlined profile, whereas the 47 has curves and shapes everywhere. Bumpers are different, accessory lights and headlights look the same, if not similar. Moving to the side profile, the car on top might be the Commodore model, just pretend it's the Super 6. Look at the roof line. The 48 is 60.4 inches tall, whereas the 47 is 68 inches tall. The 48 looks a whole lot sleeker, and I don't know, to me it looks sort of like a Zeppelin on wheels, which I totally dig. The windows on the 47 are huge compared to the 48. The 48 has a cleaner, less busy appearance. Not to say that the 47 looks bad, it doesn't. Moving to the rear, the hinges are exposed on the 47 versus hidden on the 48. Bumpers are different. Both have single-piece glass. Taillights are also different, as well as shaped differently. Moving inside to take a look at the dash, which both are completely different. Which one do you like better? Let's talk specs. 207.5 inches long, 77 inches wide, 60.4 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 124 inches. It weighs 3,655 pounds. Price, $2,343. Which is equivalent to, wait for it, you spending $29,911.75 the year 2023. Total, 1948 Hudson was 117,200 units. Moving on to engine. Only one engine on offer, 262 cubic inch displacement, flathead inline 6. 4.3 liters. It's good for 121 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, 200 pound-feet, or 271 newton meters at 1,600 RPM, with a bore of 3.6 inches and a stroke of 4.4 inches. Compression was 6.5 to 1. Features 4 main bearings. It's built of a chrome alloy block. This block uses a narrow block from 1948 to 1950, going to a wide block in 1951. For anybody that's looking to restore / build one of these, just know that there's a block size difference, and that happens around 1951. When backed with a 3-speed manual transmission, 0 to 60 could be had in 16.3 seconds. Theoretical top speed of 88 miles per hour, while achieving an average fuel economy rating of anywhere between 13.8 to 15.4 miles to the gallon. Let's talk styling. Just look at the bezels around the headlights. This one has accessory lights just below that. Turn signals just below that. Beautiful bumpers. This one has 3 bumperettes and or overriders. Everybody calls them something different. Brackets in between these overriders and or bumperettes. Just look at all the bright work. Notice it comes up to a point here in the center. Bar here, as well as 3 bars in the grille opening area. Look at how this comes up to the nose region. I love all of these lines. Center line here, as well as ornament. Just look at all of the lines in the hood. I love how this goes up to the hood scoop and then look at the hood profile. Comes to almost a little bit of an indentation there where the cowl vent is. Also look at how the cowl vent is designed. It's almost like an elongated arrow. The windshields on these, I've always digged these, how they curve. 2-piece windshield with opposing windshield wipers that sit on little pedestals. Here's the antenna. The side mirrors are rectangular. Instead of the mirrors being horizontal, they're vertical. And look at how they are mounted. This car does have drip rails that run the base of the windshield all the way to the back of the car, ending right here. Vent windows. I just love how smooth this profile is. Like, there are lines, but it's very smooth. Beautiful Hudson badge here. The wheel wells are just rolled. This one has rocker trim at the very bottom, as well as 2 more trim pieces at the top. It has a beltline crease that runs the length of the car. Look at how the trim is around the windows. It's like pressed in. Also, look how the rear window is taller here, and as it comes down, because the roof line curves down, it's more not as tall here. And then it has this rear vent window. Just look at how this comes back, curves. Such gorgeous lines. Beautiful Hudson badge here. This always reminded me of like a mailbox, like old school, like mailbox. I just always loved that. One of my favorite badge designs from this era. Beautiful taillights, and they're kind of like in the shape of like a shield. Maybe it's just me, or do you see it too? But just look at how this is all smooth. Gas filler doors right here, and then the gas caps inside, and how it's shaped with this nice bright work. Bumpers connect into here with only 2 bumperettes and or overriders in the back here, whereas there was 4 on the front. This is the door handle to get into the trunk with the light for the license plate in the assembly. While we're back here, we might as well open the trunk and get inside. And the trunk deck lid is relatively light. Super light, and just look at how much space there is back here. It's a huge trunk compartment. Full-size spare here. Feels like a bias ply spare. And let me take a step back so you can see the load floor. It is really low, so you could put stuff in there relatively easily. Coming up and getting inside, but before we do, just look at the door handle and how it's designed with all of the different lines and textures. And it's push button. This door is all framed out. Just look how thick that is. There's my fingers for reference. Also, it opens pretty much 90 degrees to allow plenty of access to get into this car. So just look at how this has a bend in it. How it curves, I should say. This feels like a cloth. It's not quite mohair. Down here is more of a vinyl. Nice bright work to separate different fabrics. Armrest, notice it's angled upwards a little bit, as well as door handle to pull the door closed. Ashtray. Window crank for the big window. It operates like that. Door handle to get out. Vent windows are manual. Pushing this button in, sliding it out. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, you have the high beam switch right there on the floor. Clutch, brake, gas pedal. Handbrake is just right there, right above it. The hood release is inside, which is really cool. Not a lot of cars from this era had the hood release inside. We're gonna go ahead and pull that. Just take a look at the step-down profile of this car. Also, the transmission tunnel isn't that big. Take a look at this interior. Here is what over the hood looks like. Here is what first person over the hood looks like of this absolutely gorgeous car. Underneath the steering wheel, there's plenty of room to put my hand in between the steering wheel and my lap. And the only reason I show that is because if you're the same size as me, wear size 36 pants, you will fit in this car perfectly. Also, look at my knee situation to the dashboard. And once again, just showing you this, because if you don't fit in the car, it's not fun to drive the car. The pedals, which I should have said while we were down here the first time, the pedals come out of the floor. So the master cylinder is probably underneath the floorboard, but we will see about that when we get under the hood. They're not suspended. While we're down here, the heater's down here. On to the button switches and knobs. Starter button, speedometer with odometer inside of it, oil pressure light, gasoline gauge, coolant temperature, amp meter light, clock, Hudson radio, key, drive master, vacuum motive, drive switch, headlights, lighter, wiper. If you missed anything, here is a dash map. I apologize. The footage looked great on camera, but now it's kind of dark. Up above, sun visor right here, as well as rear view mirror, and another sun visor over here for the passenger. Notice how those are hinged. They're hinged in the center instead of off to the side. Just look at this profile for a second. I absolutely love getting in Hudsons because they have a wraparound windshield design. Even before wraparound windshield, it's very curved, and the pillars here are very small. Not only that, the dashboard is relatively deep, or thick I should say, and the windshield also angles back. So when you sit in a car like this, just look at the profile that you're met with. It's one of the most awesome vehicles to ever be in, and if you've never been in one, I hope this is doing justice, because it's an awesome place to be. This is definitely like one of the cars that I would love to own one day. Coming to the rear door and getting inside. So just notice the door panel, armrest. Armrest doesn't angle up nearly as high as the front door. I guess it's the same. As well as door handle to pull the door shut. There's an ashtray here as well. Window crank for the big window. Operates like this. And it goes almost the whole way down. Just a little bit of protrusion right there. But you could use this as an armrest as well. So look at the step down design there. Just look at this interior in the back here. Here is what the front looks like from the back. Let's take a quick gander at the pillar to glass ratio. This car is a bit more cozy, and that's because the windows are kind of smaller, but it's really nice in here, all things considered. And that is what the visibility looks like out the back from the back seat. There is a relatively large rear parcel shelf back here. Like, I can barely touch the back, which is insane. Let's talk about the seat profile back here. It is really comfortable. It reclines, but it bulges out here in the center a little bit and then pushes back in. This seat profile does dip down in the back, but like I said, it is super comfortable because of the floor situation. It's tubbed out more than most, and if I put my feet underneath the seat, I got tons of space. Like, look at that. And I'm 6'2", So full-size adults fit back here perfect. It has a nice map pocket as well as robe rail. And what this is for is to put a heavy blanket on in the winter time, because your heating situation is this one heater underneath the dashboard. And like, you could hold on to it if you wanted to hold on to it, but more or less blanket on here to keep warm in the winter time. Up above, there isn't a dome light in the center. There is a grab handle to hold on to over here, as well as over here, but no coat hooks either. There is a vent window right here. It opens like that. Coming to the under the hood section, we've already released it on the inside. There is another release right here. So, and the way this works is you have to pick up on this a little bit until it hits that other release. So it's like a two-hand job. The hood is pretty heavy. Notice the two hinges right here. There's one here. There's one here. And just look at that. Absolutely incredible engine. There's a single horn there. 6-volt battery. This is a 262 flathead 6 single barrel carburetor. There is another air cleaner. Yes, there's another horn over there. So this one's got dual horns. It's the distributors right there on the side, as well as the oil filter is outside the block. The starter's down inside there. And the generator's over here behind the battery. On the other side of the battery, I should say. This Hudson logo, it lights up. If you look inside here, you can see a wire going to that, so that lights up there. On the positive side, this is Genesis for the later Hudson Hornet Legendary 262 engine. Even if it's the narrow block version, built solid, I've read that these are great driving cars, handles great. Against it, drastically underrated for what it was and is, and these are getting lost to time, and that is the whole point of this channel, to bring back some of the lost and forgotten gems like this one. This is a car that I would personally drive every day if it was mine. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios today. In the first scenario, and these may or may not be in the same price point, but which one would you rather have? 1948 Oldsmobile, or 1948 Hudson, or 1948 Mercury? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Moving to the second scenario, 1948 Nash, or 1948 Hudson, or 1948 Packard 6. Once again, gonna leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have your comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group I call the After Party. Gives you the opportunity to share your rides, stories, and experiences, as well as sometimes I post cars that I can't afford that are relatively cheap in my area. So there's that. Or if you don't have Facebook and would still like to reach me, send me an email. All of that will be linked in the description below. Just know I appreciate everything that you guys bring in the comment section, all the critiques and information that was glossed over in this episode, or just stuff that I missed. Thanks again, and until next time, toodaloo!